the prospect of their pit's closure.
Because it is a tradition of Bilsthorpe to have this competition. We felt that tradition means a lot.
The men who bring their families to drink at the Bilsthorpe Welfare also live and work in the town, just like their fathers and grandfathers did.
Bilsthorpe UDM Coal Queen 1992, Donna Showing!
One of the judges is the colliery manager, Bob Robson, a miner for 30 years. He combines the paternal benevolence of an old-fashioned mine owner with the commercial realism required to compete in the market of the 1990s. Hundreds of metres beneath the Nottinghamshire soil, coal has been produced for centuries. It's the foundation of the local economy.
There's seams and seams of it under our island, waiting for us to pick it. Mother Nature gave us thick, black veins of coal, the black diamonds. A lot of people have not been lucky. A lot of countries haven't got this sort of reserves, and I tell you what, if they had them, they wouldn't give them up.
This coal from Bilsthorpe was formed from rock and rotting vegetation more than 200 million years ago. It powered economic growth and industrial revolution. But today, Bilsthorpe is one of the collieries that's fighting against closure. Almost half of last year's output is stockpiled here. So why, with a coal mountain so large, should Bilsthorpe be one of the pits that stays open? And why, when the electricity industry won't buy enough British coal, do the men here say they need to keep digging for survival? Bilsthorpe's 400,000-tonne mountain is one of many, as demand for deep-mined British coal decreases. National Power and Powergen bought 73 million tonnes last year and will have 65 million by the end of this. New 5-year contracts will result at best with an order to supply the generators with 40 million tonnes at first and 30 million subsequently. Bilsthorpe, though, believes that even though there are fewer and fewer customers for its coal, the colliery could produce at such a competitive price that the electricity market couldn't resist it.
At the end of the day, the whole business is going to revolve around whatever the marketplace is going to be. You can go to Spain, and they're trying to mine coal in Spain at $285 a tonne. In Europe, and the Germans are producing at $185 a tonne, and us in Britain are producing $85 a tonne. How can you compare like for like? They're quite prepared to subsidise coal because they feel that's part of their strategy for energy.
This year, Bilsthorpe aims to produce 1.3 million tonnes of coal, more than at any time in the last 7 years. But the pit's weakness is its production record up until now, a decrease of 28% since 1987. Over the last 25 years, Bilsthorpe's coal has come from areas lying in two seams, the Park Gate, 625 metres underground, and the Low Main, 20 metres deeper. Within these seams, much of the coal has now been mined. There are currently 2 productive coal faces in the underground grid system of roadways. But both are nearing the end of their useful lives. The coal face known as 123s has been producing an average 1,500 tonnes a day since last January. It's difficult mining, low ceilings and more than 5 kilometres from the shaft. The other coal-producing face is known as 43s. At its peak, it was producing an average 4,000 tonnes a day. But it's ceasing production this week. To reach the 43s, you first descend the mine shaft in the cage. 425 metres down, the change in temperature is overwhelming.
We're ready to put the face equipment on. All right? Okay, boss.
From the chill at ground level, you're plunged into 40 degrees Celsius of dry, dusty heat, and you're hit by the gusts of air which rush through the underground tunnel's ventilation system. trudging over the railway tracks, on uneven ground, down even deeper, past the rattling conveyor belt, it takes a miner half an hour to travel the 4.5 kilometres to the 43s. In damp, cramped conditions, the men, 15 a shift, are shearing the face, cutting strips of coal, using millions of pounds worth of heavy equipment. In the sweltering heat, they're always aware of danger. As coal is cut, it naturally produces methane. The miners bank on a constant supply of air to dilute the gas and water to spray any hot materials that may ignite it. A sudden spark and there could be fire or explosion. There's the risk of flying shards of coal, falling rocks. The men depend on each other for their lives.
Like one big family. If you've got any problems, whether it's down pit or out at pit, you've always got somebody to help you. It's just a way of life. I've been here 17 years now and I won't do hotels.
Why not?
Well, it's friendship, teamwork. You're all one lot.
Last year, 10 men were killed in Britain's mines. But that compares with 476 deaths when British coal records began in 1950. The injury rate has also dropped, as safety has become the top priority in mining today.
Morning.
Safety is also at the top of the agenda at the meeting held every morning in the manager's office.
Morning, Willie. Morning, boss. Are you going to go through the safety?
Apart from the human cost, there's also the commercial loss incurred every time someone has to go home injured. 8 men were hurt in the last 24 hours at Bilsthorpe, 4 injured by stumbling or slipping on wet ground.
Okay. Yes, Terry.
The picker skill, he caught his left hand on a tin sheet and cut his left index finger but carried on working.
But the big problem overnight has been the breakdown of the conveyor belt that carries out coal from one of the colliery's productive faces.
I'm annoyed about this belt. 500 ton we've lost during the night. We're sitting here this morning, we've lost an hour and a half up to now. We can't afford it. We can't take these losses. So we've got to get our act together. I mean, we can all find all the excuses in the world, but the fact of the matter is, we intended coal.
But miners we've spoken to say machinery breakdown is no excuse for Bilsthorpe's variable track record. The colliery has had its share of geological problems. And although the men are aware that output is set to rise at last, they blame today's uncertainty about the pit's future on a past failure to develop its most efficient seams. So if Bilsthorpe's had a poor track record, why should it survive?
Since I've came here, I've come up with a new strategy for this mine, which means the exploitation of new reserves, which are twice as thick as what they are in the lower main, better mining conditions, and quite a big take of coal. Otherwise, there's good reserves.
Bilsthorpe's problem is that during this 90-day review of the pit closure programme, at a time when it needs to be showing just how productive it can be, it's producing less than half its potential. That's because it's pouring its resources into the development of new areas. So all it can offer as a reason for its survival is a promise about its future production, but not a case based on its recent performance. Bilsthorpe's argument is that the future of coal mining there rests with 2 new coal faces. Production at the newly developed Black Shale seam should begin in the new year if the colliery remains open. But more important is 44's, a new coal face in the Parkgate seam, which is expected to produce 6,000 tonnes a day from after Christmas. It's this face which will determine whether Bilsthorpe has a viable future. The development of a modern coal face like the 44's, using the most up-to-date technology, costs around £10 million. Although savings will be made by using some equipment already owned by Bilsthorpe, that still has to be moved in from the old 43's face. And while that's happening, the colliery makes a loss of £800,000 a week. So Bilsthorpe's management has to demonstrate that the short-term loss will be compensated by long-term gains. Whereas the 43s produce 20,000 tonnes a week on average, the 44s will make output rise by 50%. And the 44s will buy the colliery time while it prepares to mine other faces.
It's probably the most crucial job at the pit, because if we don't get this face away, then obviously we're not producing, so it could be the be-all or end-all of the pit.
You think that actually what you're doing could save, make or break it?
Yeah, definitely.
Rewards are high on the 44s. There's an average £500 a week to be earned, working 7-hour shifts on the trot.
Everybody wants to do the best they can for themselves, and when it comes down to earning money, I'm not scared of working, and the men down here aren't scared of working. So the incentives are for earning money.
Not all the miners share such enthusiasm for the job. With the continued uncertainty about the colliery's future, many feel dispirited. And low morale can affect productivity.
All right.
So in the weeks leading up to a final decision on the pit's future, a series of pep talks is being held at the colliery.
We've got to do 70 strips a week to survive, to break even. Any less than that will not do. Over the last week, we achieved 53. We've got to be competitive. At the end of the day, if we've worked hard for 3 months, and they turn around at that time and say they still don't want Bilsthorpe, at least we've tried. At least we'll go out with a bit of dignity. You think we can have a go at that? Huh?
Where are we going to get the customers from to buy the coal?
Basically, that's going to lie with the select committee and the government. So hopefully they'll provide a bigger market for us. If they don't, well, I'm afraid we'll be back to square one, probably left with the 19 pits. But I'll just make the comment, can we afford to take that chance and not try? And I don't think we can. I think we've really got to try.
But many miners are ignoring his message. At the welfare, more than 100 have decided to take voluntary redundancy. A few will move on to jobs at a local bakery. The money there may not be as good, but the prospects seem more secure. For those who do decide to leave, they'll be taking redundancy packages from £3,000 to £37,000.
Why not hang on and stay with Bilsthorpe till you know exactly what's going to happen?
Well, the only reason I really took it, to tell the truth, is because I've got a job to walk straight into, and like Southdown, say the colliery does shut, then it's going to be harder for people to get a job, because there'll be more people unemployed. So like, I'm not prepared to take the risk.
There is an argument that it can make economic sense to close some mines with a view to reopening them later should the market dictate. But once a mine is abandoned, within days its system crumbles. There are almost 100 kilometres of roadways at Bilsthorpe. They require constant attention, and without it they'd collapse, like this sealed-off area.
This has had a lot of weight on. You can see where it's actually broke the prop in half. And if we were to hit it, it would just collapse. And you can see with the weathering how old it is and how easy it's friable and falling away. It means that all other roadways in the pit, although they're better than this, it's only a matter of time. If they were left, they would give in.
50 years ago, George Orwell wrote that our civilization was founded on coal. We all, directly or indirectly, depended on it. In the metabolism of the Western world, he wrote, the coal miner is second in importance only to the man who ploughs the soil. But now the painful truth is that the power of coal has been eroded away.
If in January Bilsthorpe is shut down, you won't be that surprised, will you?
Oh yeah, I'll be shocked. I think we'll have worked extremely hard. I think it would be a sin against God. I think it would be a sin against the British public. I think we'd have given up a resource that could never go back to again.
We've got some coal here, which we got out of the pit today.
Yes.
It's black, It's dirty, it's filthy, it pollutes the atmosphere. Why should the country support coal, particularly coal-fired power stations, energy, coal-fired energy? Why should we support it?
Well, it's black. There's a lot of other things in this world that's black. Does it mean they're bad? Dirty? What's dirt? The farmer uses dirt to grow his crops. It's there, it's ours. If you imagine that's England, and all of that's below us, it's not so bad.
Nicola,